We're talking today with Kerstin Sandstrom. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, it's nice to be here.
And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Toronto, Canada.
Okay, and what kind of teaching do you do?
Well, I work at the University of Toronto in the International Foundations program, and I'm the lead instructor for the academic listening and speaking team. So our students come in and do basically a bridging year between high school and their first year of university. So we transition these students into an undergraduate life. They do a couple of credit courses, but most of their courses are academic preparation courses, and I run the listening and speaking course.
Hence your article. You've
Yep.
just written an article for MET on the art of note-taking in lecture listening. What inspired your interest in this particular topic?
Well, I think because over the years of teaching in the academic listening and speaking course, taking notes in a live lecture is a big component of academic listening, and the ability to comprehend the information you're hearing and then create a record of it is part of that process of comprehending, taking a record of it, and then being able to use those notes later to recall information from the lecture to either study for a test or do an assignment and so on. So as part of the authentic process of listening in an actual academic situation or setting, note-taking is a big component of it. So we spend a lot of time teaching note-taking and having students practice note-taking. And, this article was born out of some of the changes that we've made over the years in that process.
One of the challenges you mentioned is based on some interesting research around learners' short-term memory in a second language. What was that, just really briefly?
Well, the research showed, and as part of research on a much more comprehensive level, but part of this research showed that learners, when they're listening in their non-native language, they have half the length of short-term memory that we do in our native languages. And so, if we put some actual length of time to this, in our native language, we can remember something for up to 30 seconds. We have a 30-second long short-term memory. So that means that you can generally recall and retain information you heard 30 seconds ago. When you're doing this in your non-native language, that short-term memory is reduced to 15 seconds. And this impacts students' ability to take notes, because lecturers, as we know, will, sort of be long-winded, and they'll start an utterance and it will take a while till they get to the end of that utterance or idea. So it means that students in their non-native language are not able to retain the beginning of an utterance by the time the professor's gotten to the end of it. And so that, that provides, it really is a bit of a challenge for students that they don't have in their native language. So it's useful to point that out and make them recognize that that's one of the obstacles that they'll face in this process.
That's right. And then in the article, you mentioned macro strategies and also micro strategies for helping learners deal with some of these challenges. Can you give maybe just one example of one of those strategies? You've got lots in the article, but
well, the macro strategies are essentially they're more about good study skills. So what you can do prior to a lecture to help you feel prepared for it. So following all the good behaviors, doing the reading, downloading any slides or information that the professor provides ahead of time, looking up key vocabulary, and just getting involved with the topic a little bit before you come to lecture. So that would be an example of a macro strategy. Micro strategy, on the other hand, might be paying attention to keywords, right? So recognizing keywords in the idea that would then be worth writing down, and noticing that by and large, the key words in an utterance tend to be nouns. Like, I think 80% of the keywords that you would note down that carry meaning are nouns. And then you've got occasional verbs, some adjectives, and some quantifiers perhaps, but you're paying attention to the nouns.
Yeah.
So that's an example of a micro strategy.
Yeah, thank you. And your article's got a number of other strategies that I think people will be surprised by. So we won't give them away here. We'll encourage people to read the article. Thank you very much for joining us. And
It's been a pleasure.